it seems like they're pushing the population, not just of your country or mine, but really of most Western countries, right to the point of revolution. Like, how about we give you nothing and you shut up and take it?
Yeah.
And erase all hope for a future for your children or grandchildren, or even having children or grandchildren. Okay.
It's quite a gamble to take.
But the gamble is that the technology is evolving so quickly that it'll allow them to harness, the surveillance state and various tools of violence that are so overwhelming that there's nothing the population could do about it. Drones and AI are going to be enough to sort of force people to accept this. That's how I read it.
It's possible. Yes, of course it's possible. But I think it's incumbent upon us to be optimistic that that's not what happens. I think there's an absolute obligation. It's beyond a right. It's an absolute obligation to be positive. I struggle with it. I mean, I have to be yanked back onto the path of righteousness by Trudy all the time because she is by inclination more positive than I am. But nonetheless, I lean to the dark side all the time.
Well, Scots have dark souls, don't they?
Yes, we are. It's never difficult to tell the difference between a Scotsman and a ray of sunshine, as the saying goes. But you have to. It's when we spoke earlier about being brought to terms with being made to confront what really matters, and it is difficult to talk about it. In many ways, it almost makes a person blush because of the things that you find yourself having to say. But the Constitution of the United States, the First Amendment. It's at times like this that these things are suddenly, a light comes on inside them, and suddenly everyone sees them, as though for the first time. It's only because they're being threatened that people see them. The language, the inalienable right is so important. That this, you get this at school, but the inalienable is to say that your freedom is not, you're born with it. It's there. It's from God. It certainly isn't given to you by any person, and it can't be taken from you by any person. But the third and most important bit about inalienable, I only really began to contemplate in recent years, is that even if you want to surrender your freedom, you can't, because it's inalienable. You are lumbered with it. You're stuck with it. It's like your leg. You can't. It's part of you, your freedom, and it's when it's challenged in this way, and it's under freedom. And people talk about freedoms as though it's plural. There's only freedom. It's a single thing. And because it's inalienable, it's at the moment when it's being threatened that none of us we have an obligation to defend it. You don't get the choice. If someone offers you slavery, will you be my slave? You can't. Because it's your inalienable right to be free. You can't surrender to slavery. It's not your thing to give away. And that's why some of this, I suppose, had to happen. People need to see the freedom of speech being taken away by hate crime legislation, hate speech legislation, or whatever. They need these things to happen before you look again at what freedom is, what democracy might be, what it is to have inalienable rights. And we don't have the option to give these things up, even if we're broken and we want to. And I think these are profound verities.
What's the tipping point? What's the point at which you won't have optimism? What's the point at which...
Never. You can't.
Good. Well, good.
Well, you can't, because that's what I mean. Because you're not allowed. You're not entitled to give up, because it's in the nature of inalienable rights that you, even if unto death, they can... you may take our lives, but you'll never take our freedom. The oft-quoted line from Braveheart. I mean, that is just it. So there's nothing to be pessimistic about, essentially, because the option to give up is not there. You don't get to give it up.
Do you think the totalitarians will win, honestly?
No, they won't. Because I also think a lot nowadays about natural law. I read about common law, which has become an obsession, and I read about natural law. And whether you're religious or not, if you, let's say if you accept an intelligent universe, and then natural law says that the intelligent universe does want the best for you, unlike our regimes and our establishments and our powers that be, the universe is there for you to be the best expression of yourself and consciousness that there can be. And all of that can be subverted by evil. A bit like if you can hold a ball under the surface of water for as long as you've got the strength to do it, but the ball wants to be somewhere else, because that's in the natural order of things. And eventually the totalitarians will run out of the strength to subvert the way that things are supposed to be. And it's difficult to put a timeline on these things. I wouldn't say that we're going to see the end of it in our lifetimes, you and me. And it might be for our children to see the end of it. But it will end, because the natural law will reassert itself. I didn't. Another of the things that I was sort of sleepy about and in a state of slumber about, I didn't really think about faith. I've always been a person of faith quietly. I don't go to church, but I believe in a transcendent, intelligent entity. And I think that was brought home to me, and the light came on in it for me during this time as well, because so many people wrote to me. Thousands of people wrote to me from all over the world. This game started where one woman wrote a letter to me and addressed it to Neil Oliver, near Stirling Castle, Stirling, Scotland. And the letter came to me. And I thought, well, that's impressive. The postman managed to get that to me. And I put a picture of it on social media, and without thinking, and it opened floodgates. And now I've had thousands of letters like these. And so people were writing to me without knowing my address. And the vast majority of the letters were about, this is a fight between good and evil. This is a fight between right and wrong. This is about light and dark. It was as fundamental as that for most of those people that were writing to me. And perversely, in an upside down way, it was becoming aware of evil in the world around me that made me think, there will be, what's the opposite of evil? There must be good. There must be good, because I see the evil. And every force has its equal and opposite.
Yes. So
there must be good. There must be God. Or there must be, because I've seen the alternative. I've seen the adversary. Because it's stalking the land at the moment. The badness is visible.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.